Welcome to another video. Starting again as a mature job seeker can be very challenging. So in this video, I'll just be covering some of the things that you can look at doing and some of the approaches you can take to make the process go a whole lot easier. I'm John. I'm your guide through the world of job hunting, personal branding, career development, and advancing to the next stage in your life and professional career. My introduction to the world of recruiting started with working with a multinational recruiting company in a smaller town that was going through a period of layoffs. A lot of the large industries were closing down, and in particular, one large organization, an incredibly large multinational manufacturing company, was closing down. And all of a sudden, there were countless numbers of people who had worked there for years. They'd left high school and started work just much as their fathers had done or their mothers had done before them, and they spent their entire career working for this one organization. All of a sudden, well, maybe not all of a sudden, but one day the company announced that they were closing operations in Canada and they were outsourcing and moving production to Mexico and China. My office was inundated with applications from panicked job seekers, many of them in their 40s, 50s, and 60s. So I spent my first few months in the field interviewing a lot of these candidates, trying to position them for available positions that we were staffing for, and guiding them through the job process, because many hadn't done this since the day they'd started working. Many of them didn't even have resumes or know even where to begin writing a resume. They hadn't needed to do it before. The world had changed significantly since the day they started working. Many of them had a high school diploma, very few had university, and even fewer had professional development training or skill sets related to where the economy was heading. As an older job seeker, if you're currently employed, if you're looking, the number one thing that I can suggest is to keep upskilling. Take professional development courses. Look at the areas that are in high demand right now. Subjects such as project management, coding, database management. A lot of these skill sets you can learn and you can develop an awareness of by visiting sites such as Udemy. I'm not affiliated with Udemy, but I strongly recommend it for the course offerings it has. So even if you're gainfully employed and you've been with your company for a long time, please look at what you can do to update your resume in terms of professional development training. This will do a lot more than just to keep you current with contemporary trends. What it will do is that it will show a potential employer that you're coachable, that you're good with change, and that you're willing to keep learning. A second thing you can look at doing is to practice your interviewing skills, in particular what's referred to as BDI interviews, behavioral descriptive interviewing. For most job seekers, and especially that group of job seekers that I started working with in my first position as a recruiter, was that many of these job seekers were very unfamiliar with the interview process and didn't know where to begin. In fact, many of them came into the interview telling me how it was going to run and what they expected from an employer. Now, this may have been a good approach where they were working, where the employees most definitely, because of the structure of the organization, where the employees essentially called the shots. For the majority of companies that were hiring, this definitely was not the case. So I had to do a lot of coaching on what the interview process was and how this group of applicants, how they should conduct themselves in the interview. Now, one of the challenges this did cause was that there was a huge disconnect in a way between the candidates that I was working with and the recruiters in the company that I was sending them to. In many cases, some of these interviewers were maybe 20, 25, 30 years old. Some of these job applicants were 60 years old. And there was a belief that the recruiter, the interviewer, wouldn't understand the value that they're bringing. And this caused a huge sense of disengagement amongst the job seekers. If you're going into an interview with a recruiter who you sense is a lot younger than you, who you feel doesn't understand your career trajectory, your career path, and the value that you bring to the table, one way you can overcome this is by showing them that you're incredibly aware of the company that they're working for. You can express this when they invariably will ask you what interests you in that position. Show them that the job currently being advertised completely aligns with your skill sets and your interests. Show them that what the company is doing in general aligns with your skill sets and interests. A shortcut way to do this is to check out the company's website and look at the About Us page. This will give you a quick overview as to what they do, the markets they operate in, the products they develop, and amongst all of that, try to align it specifically to who you are and to your experience. Practice, practice, practice your interviewing skills. Reach out to a friend, family members, and have them guide you through a mock interview. Try to create a short elevator pitch. One question that an interviewer might have is tell me about yourself. Try to develop a 2, 3, 4-line statement about who you are as a person and who you are professionally. Practice this pitch so that it appears flawless and seamless when you deliver it to the interviewer. Try not to go off on too much of a tangent. Keep it short, keep it concise. Briefly explain your career history, your personal mission, and importantly, the value that you believe that you bring to the table. A less experienced recruiter might come out and say outright, I think you're overqualified for this position. A more seasoned recruiter might say this, but in a way, but along the lines of saying something like, my concern is that you may be bored, or you may become bored with this work, or you may become bored with this position. A good way to answer this question would be to say, yes, I have developed an incredible amount of experience over the course of my career, but at this point, at this stage in my life, I'm looking for something with a little bit more flexibility. And importantly, what I'm really motivated by is working in an environment with a team where I can share the lessons learned over this career. But in giving your answer, try not to give a response that suggests you're looking for something fairly laid back where you can coast just for the next couple of years until you retire. Focus on wanting to share your knowledge, your skills, and your experience. Emphasize, again, relating to my earlier point, emphasize any recent trainings or professional development courses you've taken. This will convince them or put them at ease should they be thinking that you might be stuck in your ways, that you worked for a company for so long that you're very stuck in a set way of doing things. Be very aware too that a less seasoned recruiter might be very intimidated by you and by your resume. If you do get a sense that they are intimidated by your experience, turn the conversation back to the position that they're hiring for. Focus on what the company is doing, and importantly, focus on how your experience can further their success. Keep your answers relatively short. Again, don't go off on too many tangents. Keep your answers very short, directly targeting what the company is doing, and again, how your experience can support them in their overall mission. So to recap, again, if you're in your 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, this is great advice for any employee, especially for those who are back on the job market and looking for a position. Keep your resume up to date. Keep taking training courses, certification programs, and make sure you add them to your resume. Research the company in depth, the one that you're interviewing at. Research it in depth, check out the About page, and go to the interview armed with a couple of questions. Before you go into the interview, look at what they're doing. Look what products they're developing, who their customers are, what market they're serving, and relate this to your experience. Show how your experience is directly applicable to what their overall objectives are. Be ready to address direct or indirect questions about your age and what your future plans are. Again, keep the conversation, if you do sense one of these questions is being asked, keep the conversation relevant to your experience and how that experience can further the success of the company. Practice your interviewing skills and check out my video, I'll link it below, on BDI interviewing. Keep an open mind and be very aware of the sense of intimidation that the recruiter might be feeling. You are going in as a very seasoned professional with extensive experience. Work with the recruiter. In a way, hold their hand and lead them towards understanding how your resume, your candidacy is very applicable to the position that they're hiring for. I hope you enjoyed this short video. If you did, I would greatly appreciate a thumbs up. And if you haven't, I'd appreciate you subscribing to this channel. It will help me on the algorithm so I can keep getting the message out to more job seekers. Thanks for watching. Best of luck with your applications and interviews, and I'll see you on the next video.